The knife is not real. The lemon was not real. The only thing that is real, Chris, you name a fruit. You could have named a pear, orange, kiwi, anything, right? But you name a apple, right? The only thing that is real is the apple.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Nick Tan Chats, my magic and mostly mentalism review show. My name is Nick Tan, and on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you guys about Super Lemon by Alex Ng, released with Harrius Presents. So I do hope that you guys are having a great year-end thus far. As far as shows and performances are going, I'm done. I'm done for the year. I just finished my last stage show of 2022 just over the weekend, and so I've got some time this early week, and I thought I quickly do one more episode of Nick Tan Chats for you guys right here on YouTube. So to begin with, let me briefly describe the effect to you. Okay, so you, the performer on stage, you elect a member of the audience to name you a random fruit, all right, an ordinary handheld fruit, and let's just say for this hypothetical example, they name you an apple. Okay, so you say, all right, an apple. However, for this particular imagination experiment, we will be using, and you remove from your pocket, a lemon. And you tell everyone to really imagine themselves at their seat, holding onto a lemon. Imagine how it feels, how it looks in the palm of their hand. And then you take it a step further and tell them to imagine themselves holding a knife. And then from there, imagine slicing the lemon open, and then at that point, imagine the smell, the scent of the lemon intensifying, all right, getting stronger and stronger, and also, see the lemon juice dripping down their palm, and then kind of tasting the lemon juice as well, right? And imagining how sour it is and feeling their saliva glands just going into overdrive. So at this point in time, after all these suggestions have been given out, you ask people in the audience, if you can feel the sourness of the lemon in your mouth at this point in time, just by using your imagination, please raise your hand. So a couple of people, will raise their hand, and you say that for those of you who didn't, that's okay, but how many of you thought you saw a knife, right? And now you're seen to be holding a fork. If you didn't see that, if you didn't see the knife, that's okay. How many of you then thought you saw a lemon? And then you look back, and apparently now you're holding a paper ball. Okay, so you keep the fork as well. You tell them, right? So, the knife wasn't real, the lemon wasn't real. The only thing that is real is, and you have the spectator name their thought of fruit again. They say it's an apple, and then you say the only thing that is real was the apple. Okay, and the effect ends there. So Harrius was really kind to send me a copy, right, of Super Lemon just sometime last week, along with a personalized Christmas card as well. All right, so Henry, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And while this is a new release, right, it's just been released, it's not a new effect. Okay, because I'm sure many of you know by now, Super Lemon is actually based on an original effect, right? The original concept came from a mentalist named Florian Severin, right, which was published in his book, What Lies Inside, in 2012, I believe, right, by Vanishing Ink. I don't have the book, okay, but I've known about this effect for many years, because a friend of mine, he has the book and he described this particular effect to me, okay? In the book, the effect is called Imagination is a Lemon, right? And it is the very first effect in the book that is described. So not having the book, but hearing the description at that point in time, many years ago, I immediately kind of fell in love with the idea, I suppose, because I loved how intelligent and how subtle the effect is. And as a mentalist, the kind of effects I like as well, right? Well, some of the effects I like, they depend on the audience making a realization or a discovery for themselves, right? I've always found that those kinds of moments play really strongly. For example, if you're doing I don't know, something with crypttext, right? So, you have the numbers on the board, and just before you turn the numbers around, you see that moment in the audience, right, where people just go like, there's that moment of realization. And I think this effect potentially has a couple of those kinds of moments, which can make it quite memorable. Memorable. So yes, it's based on the original effect from Florian Severin in What Lies Inside. Now, I've been looking for a copy of this book for a long time, all right, but apparently it's been discontinued. So as a side note, if you have a second-hand copy and, in relatively good condition, you don't mind letting go of, do get in touch with me over email. So hearing about the original method, that Florian has actually, kind of described in the book, I felt it was a little bit, well, maybe a little bit impractical, for, commercial use. So apparently, Alex Ng has been performing this version of the effect for the past decade or so. So this is a very practical way of performing this particular effect, all right? Imagination is a lemon. And apparently, I think Florian himself is now using this method over his own that he originally described in the book. So what do you get when you purchase Super Lemon? Well, first of all, you will get the lemon. Okay, so the lemon is it's a fake fruit. Okay, it's a fake lemon. You don't need a real lemon, for this particular routine, because no items are kind of handed out or examined by spectators. As long as it looks like a lemon, it will work. I mean, you can use a real one if you want to, but there really isn't a need to. You will also get this card, okay, where it's a photograph of some fruits, okay, which its use I will describe a little later on. And then you will also receive a stack of cards, additional cards, bearing the names of different fruits. Okay, this will be used for the fruit prediction, all right, at the end of the routine, which I will talk about really briefly as well. There's also a link to the tutorial videos, which run for just under 40 minutes. So in the videos, all right, you will have Alex and Henry, they'll have some discussion about the origins of the effect. There will be a studio performance of the effect by Alex, and also a live performance as well, all right, for a full audience, so you can see how the effect plays out. Alex will then take you through the workings of the effect, how to prep whatever you need to prep. He'll give you some alternative handlings, and also he'll teach you how to fold a paper ball as well, all right, which at first might sound a little silly, all right, but try it, it is actually slightly more complicated than you think, okay, because to crush it up nicely and then, being able to open it up really nicely at the end as well takes a bit of thought, okay, but he does cover how to do that in detail. So you know what you're getting already, you know the effect. I'm going to tell you now my experience of the effect, okay, because I've currently, up to date, performed it 4 times, okay, on stage, and I'm going to just briefly describe to you my thoughts about how it plays in the real world. So first of all, the positioning of this effect in your show is really, really important. Now, I'm not really sure where I saw this, or I read this, or I heard this from, but I think this is kind of sold, as an opening effect, okay? So let me tell you, the first time I tried it on stage in my stage show, I used it as an opening effect, and it totally bombed. All right, so I literally got like no reaction at all from the audience, okay? But you have to understand the kind of environments I perform in. I perform at corporate dinner events, okay? So people are just busy chatting and eating, and I'm constantly, fighting with the waiters and everyone just socializing and, having drinks and food. So using it as an opening effect, I thought was a good idea, but it's not, okay? It didn't work for me, at least, okay? Your experience might be different, but I'm just sharing with you what happened on my end, all right? So as an opening effect, it really didn't work because I did not have everyone's attention to begin with. So they didn't really care, all right, what was happening on stage, to kind of put it harshly, right? I think people need to be paying attention. This is an effect where people have to pay attention to you. They have to give you that focus. And also, it plays best if the audience participates with you. Okay, they really try to imagine all those things that you tell them to imagine. So if they don't realize that the paper ball was a lemon to begin with, or if the fork was a knife to begin with, if they don't realize that those things don't register, you don't have an effect. That was exactly what happened in the first show I did. I used it as an opening effect. People didn't really pay attention, so the changes really didn't register with them at all, and there was like no effect. So subsequently, I shifted Super Lemon down towards the middle of my show. Okay, so I used like the regular material that I used at the start of my show to get attention, to build credibility, and then I used Super Lemon as like in the middle as a segue, to other effects. And that was when the effect started to work really well. So I think you need to really think about where in the show you put this effect, and also the kind of environments that you perform in, okay? Because if you are performing in a theater, it's a ticketed event and people come to see you, specifically come to see you, you can use this as an opening effect, because people will be there to participate, right? But if you work in the kind of environments I work in, where it's really harsh, right? I don't think it works well as an opening effect. It really has to be like in the middle at least. So the next big point I'm going to talk about for this routine is the prediction of the fruit, okay? Where you unfold a piece of paper and the name of the fruit is like written there, right? So let me just tell you this, right? The cards that you receive can be used, in fact, they will be used to ensure, okay, that the spectator will name the correct fruit. Now you can do this procedure before the show, okay, or during the show in real time. And Henry does give you a couple of ways of doing this particular part, either before or during the show. So the effect can go a couple of directions method-wise, right? If you do get like, the fruit before the show, okay, you can then prep your paper ball just before you go up on stage. Or if, before the show, you ensure that that fruit will be the one that is named, then the paper ball can be prepared like beforehand, right? So you can see that the prep work and how the effect goes really depends on your preference for how you go about making sure that this part of the effect happens. There is another approach, that Alex gives you, okay, and that is in the form of this particular photograph. Okay, so I won't show this to you like too clearly, all right, but what you can do is you can flash this photograph to a spectator and have them think of a fruit that they can see, okay, and from there you are able to accommodate, okay, whatever they say via a system that you have on yourself or in your case perhaps. So, having described briefly the method for that, I'm going to tell you this. I don't use any of that. I really don't bother, for lack of a better word, with that kind of work to ensure that, when you open the paper ball, it has the name of the fruit written across, right? I just think it's not necessary. In fact, this prediction effect, right, wasn't actually part of Florian Severin's original handling. In his original handling, he just ended the routine with the unfolding of the paper ball and displaying the piece of paper. So, the lemon has changed into a piece of paper and that was it. So for me at least, all right, personally, I don't think it's important to have that final prediction. So I won't like go through all that extra work just to ensure the name of a fruit appears on the paper, right? To me, the effect is about just the change, of the knife to the fork and of the lemon to the paper ball. It's not like a prediction effect at all to me. That being said, in my personal handling, I will try to, I suppose, psychologically force, all right, the correct fruit, right? I do have a way of doing it. Out of the 4 times I've done it, I've only hit it twice. If they do name the apple, after I open up the piece of paper, I can then, call attention to what fruit do you name at the beginning, and he says apple. Then I turn the paper around and I show apple. If he didn't name an apple, I will just unfold the paper ball and just not show the other side, okay? Because again, to me, that part of the effect is really not important at all. So the only reason why I'm mentioning this is because I know for a fact, right, that there will be you guys out there who will be so, I don't know, disappointed, that, oh, there's pre-show work, that kind of a thing, right? So all I'm saying is, yes, there can be, but you don't really need to do that at all. So yeah, it really depends on you as a performer, I think it suits both magicians and mentalists, for mentalists, definitely, you can get some mileage out of it, but if you are like a really, magician, right, really magic kind of a magician, then it will still work, but I'm not sure if the effect or the reaction that you get from the audience, you know, to the effect will be satisfying enough for you, all right, to continue to perform it. But you know, overall, you know, I think this is a great product. Okay, it's something that I like a lot. It's really different, again, really intelligent, really subtle kind of an effect. And you know, I've been in love with this effect for many years, you know, even before Super Lemon was released. So I'm really glad that now I have a really practical way of performing the effect. So yes, you know, while it is not without its issues, okay, when it comes time to putting it in your show, I will still try as far as possible, you know, whenever I have the opportunity to include it as part of my stage program. So yeah, you know, if you like the effect, if you can see yourself using this effect in your show, if you think it suits your character, then definitely I can highly recommend Super Lemon. If you'd like to pick up a copy of Super Lemon for yourselves, I will leave the link in the description box down below. So that's all for today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. And as always, stay safe, take care of yourselves, have fun with your magic and mentalism, and I will see you on a future episode of Nique Chats.